Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Around the Game Sunday edition. And tonight, I'm with Mr. Douglas Uwizera. Have I pronounced it well?
Perfect.
Okay, Douglas, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're actually a one-time champion in 2007. You reached the finals with Falcons in 2018. Was it 18 or 19? Division 1?
Division 1,
Yeah.
that was 2018, yes.
Okay.
But NBL, that was 2007, 2012, 2013, and 2008 as well.
So you how many times champion?
One time, but we lost.
But you lost all the others. Oh my God! So you lose and you
No.
Okay, briefly tell us how you began playing basketball and how.
Wow, that's a good question. Why did I begin playing basketball? I think more not why, but how. We used to stay in Makindye, and my late brother, my older brother, was a basketball player. He actually used to play for Baptist. That's present day Power.
Baptist?
Yeah, it used to be called Baptist.
Okay.
So he used to go to the court and he'd always be like, Douglas, come along, help me rebound, help me do this. So that's how I got interest and began playing the game, and I fell in love with it.
So why basketball? I mean, there were other sports. I believe you're a soccer lover, cricket, rugby.
I'm a brilliant soccer player as well.
Okay.
But basketball, because he kept taking me to the court, and because when I would go to the pitch, everyone wanted me to go to the goal, and I think goalkeeping is boring. So I said, no, let me stick to the basketball court.
Okay. So let's backtrack a bit. Tell us about your basketball history from high school, the clubs you played for in the league.
Well, in high school, I really didn't play that much basketball, to be honest. I mostly began to play basketball when I left school, like for my S6 vacation onwards. The first team I played for Makindye Shooters, home team, still the team I love to death. I spent about 2 seasons with Makindye Shooters. Then I was signed by Falcons. That was in my vacation. Actually, an interesting story. When I was being signed, it was Henry Malinga is the person who signed me to Falcons. It was him and Ivan Inabu who tried to get me for Makindye Shooters. At that time, Ivan was with Riders, and he was telling me, "We want to build something, bring a team from the bottom, go into the main league." And Henry was telling me, "It's your time, come and join the best team in the league." And at that time, hands down, Falcons was the best team in the league. So I weighed my options and I thought, let me join the best team in the league.
The Mighty Falcons.
The Mighty Falcons.
That statement where Henry said Falcons is the best team in the league and like hands down it is. Who are the players in Falcons by that time?
That time, the team had Henry, Eric Maling, the Malinga brothers. They had Obol, Sam. They had Tony Oluka, Walter, Alenyo, Tendo, Richard Atuhaire, Jude Ochen, to name but a few.
Okay.
Oporia. So it was such a star-studded team. And I actually vividly remember when he approached me, because we had been playing at the pool court. I'd come to just play pickup basketball. So after that day, he pulls me aside. We sat somewhere and he's like, "You know what? I think you can actually play this game. But you need to go to an environment that teaches you how to play the game the right way. Right now you're playing, but you need a proper structure and a proper team to help you fulfill whatever you can fulfill out of this game." So I thought about it and I was like, okay, let's give it a try.
Weren't you nervous when Henry approached you? I mean, you're talking about legends of the game.
Absolutely.
Weren't you scared of sitting on the bench?
When he was talking to me, I was actually starstruck as I was looking at him. I was like,
"This is Henry.
This is Henry. He actually wants me to join the team." So it was quite an experience. And what even made it better is when I actually began to practice with these guys. Because you imagine, in your vacation, S6 vacation, here you are thrown into the deep end. You're practicing alongside Henry, Eric, Obol, Walter, Oluka, all of them in their prime. It was crazy, but I loved every bit of the experience.
Okay, who was very helpful in that season you joined? Was it still Henry who was keeping you happy in the team?
Yeah, and Henry was he was a calm leader. Henry is not, he wasn't loud. He's not the sort of person. He leads by action. So he brought a calmness to the team and to me that made me feel welcome. And Brian Sentongo was there. So we were in the same rookie year with him. No, actually, he'd been there for 1 year. So he was still also learning to ply the trade. So we got along with him as well. I remember Subi came along as well. To Musime Francis. So that we were in the same age bracket.
Okay.
So that's how we managed to, survive the tough times.
So in about 2006, that is so many years ago, I think 14 years.
Yeah, 2007 actually.
2000. No, I'm talking about the time you played for the national team, U18 Olympic qualifier.
Yes.
It was the first of its kind.
Yeah.
That's about the experience.
Wow. When I was joining Falcons, actually, Uganda was assembled in the team to play in the inaugural Anoka Olympic qualifiers at that time. It was the first time that tournament was being hosted. It was hosted in Nairobi at Kasarani Stadium. So they assembled a team, were about 18 players or thereabout, but they shortlisted 12. I was lucky enough or blessed enough to be shortlisted.
I don't think you were lucky.
Okay, I earned my spot. And Coach Tom Uchamringa, I think you know Tom, and Lumo, those were our coaches. We had my teammates, I remember Jimmy Enabu, Emmanuel Ateng, Edwin Katerega, Brian Sentongo, Tumusime Francis. I think actually all the young Falcons players at that time were on the team. Bongomin Edward, Sally, I think is in the US or something. Chico Max.
Chico.
Yeah, you know Chico?
Of course.
Very interesting character. Who else? Farouk, Duvinga.
For real?
Yeah. So it's quite a bunch of very interesting guys. I really had fun in that tournament. I mean, that was the first time I was in a camp. You spend like a week in a camp, in a hotel, seeing the same people, cracking jokes, hanging around, fighting together. It really was a very nice experience.
So, like, how far did you go in Nairobi with the team?
I think we were knocked out in the quarterfinals. We were knocked out by Egypt. Egypt were the eventual champions. We really had an inexperienced team, but the experience we had there, I'm sure, made us all better players. And whenever you play abroad, you play outside your boundaries. You learn something. You get to see how other people approach the game, and that helps you develop as a player.
Okay, so what countries did you come up against during the tournament?
We played Eritrea. We played Egypt. We played Kenya. We played Rwanda. Which other countries? Yes, Somalia. And who else did we play?
It's a long memory.
It's a long time back.
Okay, I know you are familiar with Kenya, Rwanda, and Egypt.
Yeah.
On the 2016, I know like there's you still competing very kind of active. I'm not going to say actively in the league. Jimmy, of course, Sentongo, those boys are still competing and playing some basketball in the league. If you look at these nations you've talked about, like Kenya, Rwanda, and Egypt, the players on their 2016, the U18 team, are they still featuring on the current national team?
Somalia, I watched Somalia when they came here for the concluded zone. What was it, zone 5 or something?
Yeah.
I forget. I think I remember one player who we played with, the guard. I fail to remember his name. But from Rwanda, Aristide is still playing. Aristide was on that team. Laino Hakizimana was on that team. And from Kenya, I don't really remember who was on that team, but I don't think any of the players who are playing on the current national team graduated to the
Really?
who were graduates of that under 18 team.
Okay, so the truth is, I'm so excited you're in the studio tonight. You
Why?
are the manager of Falcons, one of the most supported teams in Uganda. I think teams with the most fans are Falcons and Power, no doubt.
Yeah,
I
true.
don't know if City Oil has as much as fans.
They have like one or two. Sure.
Okay, so I'm excited you part of the Falcons organization.
Yes.
Tell us about Falcons. I know people are excited to hear what you have to say about this team.
That I could take all day and speak about the team, but I mean it's an amazing team. It was built on proper principles. You know, the late Simbwa, who is God rest his soul in peace, who was our founder and club owner, instilled a certain sense of discipline and hard work that all Falcon players have carried on to their other areas of life beyond basketball. I think Falcons set the benchmark for what a successful franchise should be. I always joke with Andrew Tend of City Oil that he carried the blueprint from Falcons and took it to City Oil. So you know, they instilled the values of hard work, discipline, staying humble, committed, you know, living in the moment. And I think that has rubbed off on all the players who have gone through the team can attest to that. So as a team, I think it's beyond a basketball team. It's a family. It has impacted so many people's lives, whether they've played with it, whether they've supported it, whether they've been sponsors. I mean, it's more than a team.
Okay, if I'm to ask, how was Falcons formed by who?
Falcons was formed by the late John Simbwa. It was a breakaway team from Blue Jackets, and the founder members found the starting players I read about. Stephen Omwony, of course, the greatest to ever bounce the ball in this country. Omedo, I think Kameme, Simon Dowler, aka Kameme, and others I can't really recall, but I know those are the people that actually started this team.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what makes Falcons? What made Falcons special in the past? Because the truth is, these days, sports, well, any successful organization is related to the finances.
True.
So I don't know. Did Falcons have finances like 20 years ago or something?
I mean, it's not purely finances. Like I said, you can have finances and struggle. More importantly than finances are what do you stand for as a team, you know? And that time, like I said, Falcons was organized from management to Waterboy. As a franchise, to be successful, everyone has to be locked in. You all have to be on the same page. I don't care whether you are the team owner. It doesn't matter whether you are a statistician. It doesn't matter whether you're the kit man. Everyone has to give their all in whatever role you have been given. Whether you're a starter, you play 30 minutes. Whether you're a role player who plays 4 minutes. If everyone appreciates and gives their all for a team, there is no way they will fail.
Okay.
So yes, finances do play a critical part, but there are very many instances of teams that have finances but have struggled to win. I won't mention, but I'm sure you know. So it goes beyond the money bit. You guys, you have to be in the whole team has to be in sync. So it's why they were that good is because everyone knew what they were supposed to do, why they were doing it, and appreciated their role.
Okay, so there's no doubt Michael Jordan changed the face of the NBA. I don't know if it's the face of basketball in the whole world or the face of the NBA. So I'm going to compare him to the late Simbwa. The stories I've heard of late Simbwa, there's no doubt he changed the face of basketball in a managerial sense. I don't know if you concur with me.
Absolutely.
So tell us about Simbwa. What was his other name?
John Simbwa.
Yeah, tell us about John Simbwa because I've heard stories. He sold his apartment in Bugolobi, like don't know about it. I just heard about it. He sold his house to finance a Falcons team. I don't know in 2010 or 11. Falcons team that had Kami, Bazangu, Ngandu, Sudi. Is that real? Tell us about Simba.
Well, Simbwa was the late Simbwa was a great man. He's one of the greatest individuals I've ever come across in my entire existence. Because what I most remember him for was he always used to say, never accept mediocrity. Always strive for greatness. And he not only said it, but he lived it. From the decisions you see that he took, for the late Simbwa, it was all or nothing. We are either in it to win it, or we are not participating at all. That's why he went as far as Falcons was the first team to bring semi-professionals from abroad to come and play in the league. Falcons was the first team to go and play abroad.
Yeah, and it was
in tournaments.
The first team to pay a player 72 million transfer.
The first team to actually have such a big tournament. I don't know if you remember the Falcons Invitational.
Yeah, talk about it too.
It was he didn't settle for mediocrity. And I remember he would always say, "Daki, are we safe? Are we safe? Why? No. Let's aim for up." And he was such a magnanimous character. He set the benchmark, like I said, for basketball to move from here to here. Because at that time people were comfortable, not taking it in a very serious state. But at least I would like to say Falcons was a semi-professional team because they were having camps. Like when playoffs came around.
Are you serious?
Yeah, when playoffs came around, he had a hotel in Nankulawe called Simcat. When playoffs came around, we would camp. So you would have practice in the morning and in the evening. Those people that had other commitments that were not able to make it in the morning, at least he would ensure that at lunchtime we are all together. At least come from work, or if you're in school, come from school, day school or whatever. In the evening, we meet, have a cup of tea after practice. So that built such a brotherhood, and it's the reason why they were so successful.
Okay. So one day I was watching a Falcons game, and from the crowd, I heard someone say, Falcons died with Falcons invitation.
Yes.
So as a manager, I know you're the current Falcons manager. Do you plan on rejuvenating such things?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, we've been having discussions with some of the former players, and we want to have something, not necessarily Falcons Invitational, maybe it could be the Simbwa Memorial, but something is in the pipeline so that we have the tournament to bring back the good old times and bring everyone together and build our profile and go back to where we are supposed to be.
Okay, so with the death of Mr. John Simbwa, and you talked about legends, you talked about Alenyo, you talked about Stephen Omwony. Yes. I would like to ask, the truth is, I know Falcons is struggling. That is the truth.
No, it's not the truth.
Yeah. So Falcons is not struggling, huh?
Struggling is a very relative word. What do you mean struggling?
Okay, Falcons is not a championship team like in the past. Okay. So I'll relate it to struggling.
True.
Okay. It's okay. It reminds me of Arsenal. Falcons. Arsenal.
No.
It's a terrible.
It's a terrible comparison.
Okay. Falcons has produced legends in the game. Are these players coming back to give back to the current Falcons team or something?
Yes, they are. It's like I said, we are in discussions with some of the former players to do something. You have a tournament, bring us all together and forge a way forward. I mean, Omwony has been helpful. He always lends a hand, whether it's as a coach, whether it's a word of advice. Walter, Oluka has come and coached the team. I mean, Eric, we're always in contact with him. Even God, who is not here, we are in contact. So I'd like to say that, yeah, they are doing something to ensure that the team goes back to where it belongs.
So do we have hope Falcons is going to get back up there?
Absolutely.
Recently, you guys are overthrown. City Oil is now the team with the most championships after Falcons folding that role for how many years?
Quite a very, very long time.
So do we have hope?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Just briefly, this is going to be a little bit sad. Falcons got relegated. The mighty Falcons got relegated. I think in 2018, something like that. 17, 18.
Yes.
Yes, Falcons got relegated. Why? Because you told me like it has produced legends, and these guys are coming back to help the team. Well, with the death of Simbwa, is that one of the reasons the team got relegated? I thought when you have players like Stevie Omwony, just to mention a few, that would never happen to such a franchise. I mean, look at power. Legends still come back and support the team. So tell us what happened in that year, the relegation year, famous relegation year. I mean, it was in the newspapers, back page. Basketball rarely gets talked about like in newspapers. If they talk about basketball in a newspaper, something small. But that day, oh my God, big. Some big word, article, Falcons relegated. And I was talking to, I think I talked to one of the Falcons legends. And he told me he saw that and he got hurt. Then I asked him, you mean you never knew what is happening in the team?
Well, that's definitely, for me, that is my low light in basketball. Like that year was quite the journey. But I won't attribute it to one specific factor. It was a process. It was something in the making. It didn't just happen overnight. You know, it was the franchise slowly but surely was degenerating. With every passing year, we kept getting worse, making wrong decisions, making wrong moves. And I can't attribute the blame to anyone in particular. So many people led to it. I myself, inclusive.
I am sorry. I feel like you're giving me a political answer.
No. It was the culmination of events, should I say? Like that relegation in itself was something that was bound to happen.
When you talk about like wrong decisions, what do you mean exactly?
I mean, we had some wrong recruitments, I should say. We had some poor management decisions. We struggled financially.
Who was managing the team? Because I think management is very pivotal, like in any organization to success. Who was managing Falcons by then?
At that point, we had Dennis Mbide and Chairman Kagoro.
Dennis Mbide?
Yes.
He's a basketball man or soccer man?
Very big Falcon man.
Okay.
But the challenge was we were struggling financially and we couldn't compete. So because of those struggles, we had to recruit differently. Yeah. And we failed to play. So we ended up being relegated. But like I say, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was, from a team that has been one final, two finals, number 5, number 6, number 10. Eventually, you're relegated.
Okay.
But in hindsight, it provided, at times to build, you have to totally break. It gave the team an opportunity to rebuild. Because, in every dark cloud has a silver lining. So that relegation in itself made us go back to the drawing board and say, look, we can't come from being the most successful team to relegation. So that in itself helped us rebuild, and we are in the rebuilding process. And I can assure you, our foundation is going to be much stronger than it was then.
That is good hope. So can I ask my question again?
Yes.
Is it safe for me to compare Falcons to Arsenal, the soccer team?
Absolutely unsafe.
Okay. So I'm sorry about talking about Falcons. I seem to have put you on the spot.
No.
So let's talk about Daddy the player.
Yes.
You told me you began playing basketball about 13, 14 years ago.
Yes.
So what's up with Dagi right now?
Well, to take you back to where the story begins. My story begins at the mess court in Makinde, the officers' mess. That's in fact that's my place of solace. Every time I feel I need some me time, I go and sit at that court, you know. It helps me to recenter. That's where I learned the game. That's where I started playing the game. Marking the shooters, I joined them. I spent about 2 years, actually 2.5. But it's funny, those 2 years were the full seasons. But I always used to have, like, I would come and play, but because of school that time, I wasn't able to be fully committed to the team. It was until after, you know, I got more time to play that I really became committed to the team. But I had a very fabulous time with the Makinde shooters. I built a brotherhood there. It's what sets the platform for me to be seen by Falcons. If it wasn't for shooters, they would have never seen me play, and they would have never wanted me to join them. So when I left Makinde shooters, actually I have to give props to Coach Jesse Tukachongora. He was one of my first coaches, and he's the one who really, you know, gave me a platform and told me, no, do what you want to do. Play, make mistakes, learn, play, don't hold back. So when I left, I joined Falcons. We won that year in 2007. We beat Warriors in the final. I think 3-2 it was. In the semis, we beat UCU, quite a star-studded UCU side. UCU were actually the favorites, if I recall correctly, that year, because they went on a crazy run. I think that season they must have lost 2 games to us and the Knight Riders. So we went into the playoffs as number 8. No, that time they were taking the top 4. I remember. Was it top 4? But we were the last seeded team in the playoffs. Because I remember vividly that game against UCU, where we beat them. They were on a crazy run, but it was a decider. That game against UCU, and surprisingly, the other game against Riders. I'll never forget that Riders game. Walter, and you had a crazy game. He was a role player, but that game he carried us. I remember it very vividly. So those 2 wins got us into the playoffs. And we always used to tell ourselves, just get into the playoffs. In the playoffs, it's a different ball game. It will be 1 game at a time. So our target was always make the playoffs. So we played that year, we won. In 2008, we lost to Power in the final. That was the year I think Ben Komakech was MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Played another year, then I moved to Miracle. After that, I had this short stint away. 2009, actually, that's the year when they made when we made all these crazy signings. The Kamis, the Sudis, the Osano. So there was a bit of discontent, if I should use that word, I don't know. So I moved to Miracle. I was approached by Chris.
Rugendo.
No, Rugendo, not Rugendo. Chris Chewambe. He's currently, I think, with UPDF. Yes, he must be with UPDF. He had a good project they were starting at Miracle, because the church had decided to come on board and fully support the team. So he gathered a young team. So I left Falcons. Brian left with me. Edwin left with me. Francis left with me. So like all the young players at that time, we shifted to Miracle. They had a good project running. We were joined by Omwony after. And I remember we qualified, we went and played, was it Zone 5 in Burundi? I don't remember the tournament. And we had quite a good show. Came back. Then I left Miracle. I had 1 year at Diamonds. 1 season.
Yeah.
After Diamonds, I went back to Falcons, and that is it. I never looked back.
So Falcons for life.
For life.
So I remember in 2000, I'm not sure there you had a problem with your knee and it has put you down for quite some time.
Yeah. The first time I got this injury, it's so funny, was 2012. So we're going into finals, no, semi-finals. So we practice. You know how after practice, you stretch, team talk, right?
Yeah.
Then everyone goes home. So this damn day at the main ground, I wish I had actually stayed home that day. We practice. After practice, we stretch, cool down, have the team talk, and now guys are relaxing. Now you know when you're young, you have a lot of energy. So I remember there was guys who were playing, but they were 9, but they wanted to play full court. And I felt I still have enough energy to play. Why don't I play? So I get onto the court. We play, and I'll never forget how I got the injuries. It's so silly that I was saving a ball. You imagine. I don't know what was going through my head. So as I jumped to save the ball,
Is that your Dennis Rodman?
I think I had an awkward landing, and I felt a twist in the knee. And in my head, I'm like, this is not good. You know, you can always tell an injury that is bad and something that is, you walk over. But because we had a game 2 days later, and being the young and naive man I was, I didn't tell the coach, or anyone for that matter, because I wanted to play, and I didn't want to say I'm injured. So in my head, I thought, if I go home, I rest, 2 days will be enough.
Yeah.
So I just went home, got some ice. Later in the night, my knee was the size of an elephant's leg. So then I was like, now I'm in trouble. So I went to see a doctor, spoke to the coach, and the coach was so cross with me.
Who was the coach by
That time it was Gadeteo Antonio Luca. They were like, why the hell would you do that? What were you thinking? We were done with practice. I was like, well, the injury happened, it happened. So I saw a doctor, got some treatment. I remember I did a scan at that time, and it was just, I think there were a slight meniscus tear. So it was not as severe. So I did my recuperation, came back to play the following year. Then it got re-injured again. I think I didn't do proper rehabilitation. That's why whenever I see young men nowadays who get injured, I insist that rehabilitation is very important. Rehabilitation is actually might even be more important than the treatment, because once you are healed, you need to get your body back into game shape. So that's the injury I've been struggling with.
But is it finally? Did you finally recover?
I would say to 80%. To 80%.
So we expect to see the old Dagi next season.
Yeah, well, I think I need to give it one more run, one more healthy run.
Then you call it quits.
Then I can call it quits.
Okay, talk about Dagi the coach. You're a basketball coach. I was going through the Facebook, FUBA Facebook page. Then I saw a pic of you coaching, like attending some coaching clinic.
Yes.
Tell us what inspired you to become a coach.
I've always loved. I think basketball is it's a thing of art, and there's nothing as beautiful as seeing proper basketball. You see, when you see a team doing the right things, playing the right way, that is, for me, it is so satisfying. And there's nothing as pathetic as seeing bad basketball. So I always took it upon myself to want to study the game, to learn the game, learn how it should be played, learn the right things. This is why I ventured into coaching, and I'm lucky enough to have been coached by some of the best guys out there who know the game. The late Smart Solumbo, who was the Falcons head coach, brilliant guy. Gadeteu, brilliant game reader. Tonio Luca, very, very good skills developer. I worked alongside Rugendo. you know, I've spent so much time with so many different coaches, so you keep picking something from all these people. So eventually I said, you know what, I might as well get the actual qualification. So when FIBA had a course here they were running for Ugandan coaches, I put my name in, and luckily I was selected, and I did the course, and I passed the course. So officially I am a coach, and I have the official qualification.
Okay.
And I've been coaching for a while, so that's what inspired me to go into coaching.
Okay. So you say team manager. Can I say you want to benefit, like earn money from every venue? Because you say team manager, you're a coach, you're a player, you're a fan. So
I'm a jack of all trades.
so tell us about Dagi the manager.
Well, Dagi the manager, that journey started in the year we got relegated. There was a management gap, to be honest, and that's one of the reasons we were relegated anyway. Because I realized we had the players, we had the coaching staff. Then from the top, there was really no one at the top giving proper guidance. So unfortunately, when we were relegated, everyone was angry, understandably so. Players, managers, fans, everyone alike. So I remember that day, it was actually the game against UPDF. After that game at the YMCA, when our relegation was confirmed, I remember I sat in the stand. I stayed at the YMCA for about 3 hours. I sat with a good friend of mine called Albert Ahmed. I looked and I was like, I joined this team when it was the best team in the country. And here we are being relegated. I felt that for me is one of the lowest points in my life. So I sat there for an hour just staring and thinking, what happens after this? Where do we go? And he told me, you know, in every dark cloud, like I said, there is a silver lining. And he told me, you have an opportunity to right whatever has been done wrong. So it took about a week for all the emotions to cool down and, you know, begin drawing up a plan on, okay, what do we do? First thing was, top of the agenda, we need to get back into the NBL. At that point, I think we had one player, because every player had quit. Because that time we had some financial struggles, we were not able to pay our players, they all walked away. We lost the sponsorship we had with the company, I won't mention the name. So it was basically nothing. Falcons at that point was inexistent. So I spoke to Semanda, the late John Simbwa's brother, and he was like, Dagi, I don't know what we are going to do, but you have to do something. We cannot let a great man's legacy just go to waste. Yeah. So here we are, no players, no coach, no sponsorship, nothing. First person I called up Carol, Frank. He was very angry. I knew he would definitely come back. But at that point I called him. I said, okay, fine. Mistakes have been made. There's no point in sulking. Let's give it one more run. Let's give it a year and take this team. At least have the decency to take the team back to the division you found it. Yeah. So he was like, okay, Dagi, if we do not make NBL, don't ever contact me again. I'm like, okay. So at least now, worst case scenario, we have me and Kaoru. I'm looking for 3 other people to make it 5. Next person I call up Emma Upal. He had been with us the year before as well. I'm like, Emma, no, I don't want to hear anything to do with Falcons. I'm like, no. Let's have the decency to take the team back to NBL. Yeah. So now we are 3. Next person I call, I speak to a Afande Douglas is one of our main sponsors. Tito Chimu Douglas, very great man. I call him, I tell him, sir, the team wants to come back. It's like, no, I got tired of that team.
Yeah.
You people messed up our team. I don't want anything to do with Falcons.
Was it fun or something?
Douglas has been more than a fan. He's been a brother to the team. I remember in 2007 when I had just joined, all our games, he was always there. Always. He would come after the game. If you've played well and good and won, he'd be happy, take guys for lunch. If you've lost and really you need to cool off, you'd be happy, take guys for a drink. He's a very, very happy man.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you've met him, I know you know who he is. For him, he doesn't believe in looking back.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever has happened, let's move forward. So I speak to him, I tell him, you know, we want to come back, but we're going to need some finances.
Yeah.
He's like, do you have a plan? I'm like, yes, I have a plan. 3 players so far, you could be the 4th. He says, no problem. I'll wear the jersey. That's okay. So he's like, okay, well, gather funds. Whoever can chip in will chip in. At least let's have the basics available. Let's pay registration. Let's have water for the players to drink. Let's get them shoes to play. Let's buy basketballs. Surely, if you have shoes, you have a basketball, you have water, you can't fail to play the game. Then I said, now we need a coach. Because originally my plan was to coach play. But I realized if I was going to manage, to coach and to play, I was going to be strained. So I speak to a gentleman called Disan. I tell him, Disan, there's an opportunity here. Come, let's take this team back up. So we gather players here and there. I made a few phone calls. It was one of the most bizarre recruitment processes I've ever gone through. Luckily enough, we get a team, we register a team with at least 8 people. Get onto the court, we play, we struggle. We actually we entered as number 8 again.
In the playoffs?
Yes. But I always told these guys, Falcons has a history. You can never take pedigree away. All we need to do is get into playoffs. From playoffs onwards, 1 game at a time, 1 possession at a time. I guarantee you, we shall be back to the top. We made the playoffs, we made the finals, and thankfully the day we were promoted, that night it's a memorable night for me. I was like, at least now the team is back where I found it. Now we can rebuild from that. So here we are today. We played 1 year, stayed in the NBL, and now we are rebuilding, but we are insisting that we don't want to make mistakes. We are learning from our mistakes. We want to have a young team, a progressive team, proper plan, proper structure, so that whether it is 5 years from now when I'm not there, whether it is 10 years from now when the next manager is not there, the team has continuity and the team is competing.
Okay. Wow, that was quite a story. I don't know if it's a story or... Okay, let me get a little bit personal.
Yes.
Do you have a top 5 all-time NBA team?
Yeah, I actually do. I do have all-time, like from...
Yeah, retired players.
From retired.
Players.
Yeah, I do have top 5. For me, ultimately, for my point guard position, I would play LeBron James.
Point guard?
Yeah. I know he's not your ideal point guard.
Oh my God.
I know, but because of his basketball IQ and the way he sees the floor.
So his IQ is better than Magic Johnson?
Well, that's debatable.
Okay.
But
Anyway,
where he would beat Magic Johnson, I think, is on his physicality. But I mean, he can pass the ball. He understands the game. So I would play him at point guard.
Number 2?
Number 2 is obvious, Michael Jordan.
Number 3?
Number 3 is where it gets tricky. I love Kobe. To be honest, Kobe was a great player, but I actually appreciated him more after his passing, which is a sad thing, but it's a true thing, because you never understand what you have until it's lost.
Yeah.
At that point, I took him for granted. 80 points, yeah, okay, yeah. 60 points, yeah, okay. Yeah. But when he's gone is when you look back and you're like, my goodness, was this guy human? So it is sad that in his passing we realize that we were actually blessed to watch him do what he did.
Yeah.
So at number 3, I'll have Kobe Bryant.
Then 4.
At 4, I'll have one of the most, if not for me, the best power forward in the history of the game. I'll go with Tim Duncan.
Okay, 5.
5 for me, the greatest basketball player ever. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Why is Kareem the greatest? I thought it's Michael Jordan. Is it because of the championships?
Not that. His record is quite exemplary, but the thing that Jordan has over Kareem is Jordan played in an era when the game was on TV. The game was being exposed. People were watching the game.
Yes.
The game was growing. He grew the brand. But if you're to look at accomplishments, achievements, Kareem is crazy.
So he's the greatest based on achievements.
Based on achievements and what he did on the basketball court. But Jordan transcended the basketball court. He went beyond. So, in my opinion, that's
okay. Of course, I will not do that. So, NBL top 5.
NBL top 5. Wow, NBL top 5. I'll start at the obvious one for me. The greatest center to ever play, and my man who recruited me, Henry Malinga, at 5. At 4, I'm torn between the late Ox, he played for Power.
You can share both of them. You can share that position.
And Eric Malinga.
It's okay, both of them can share.
Because I think they were quite dominant, quite assertive, quite aggressive. So at 4, I'm still undecided on whether to take Ox, who was not your typical 4, but could pass the ball and could dribble it. So either Ox or Eric. For me, that's a trick. That's the tough one.
Okay.
Then at 3, I'll go with Stephen Omwony. At 2, I'll go with Norman Blick.
Okay.
Then at 1 is where I have another challenge. Because, Ken, I don't know if you watched Ken play. Ken was such a joy to watch. Growing up, he's one of the people who you really looked at and you were like, wow. I'm torn between Ken. Unfortunately, he didn't play for that long. And then I'm also torn between Komakech Ben, who for me is one of the smoothest players to ever play. He goes about his business without much. you know there are players who the game comes naturally to. Eh?
Yeah, so he doesn't play like LeBron.
Yeah, no. No, but I'm torn between Ken, Koma, and Jimmy Enabu for his consistency.
Okay.
Because Jimmy has been at the top for, I don't know, from under 18. If you look at the team that we played with, like watching him grow and develop into the player he's become today is quite inspirational. So between those 3, I am torn. So it's the Ugandan thing it's quite hard for me.
Okay.
It's quite hard for me.
So, but I'm shocked, when you mentioned in your NBL top 5, you never mentioned this. To me, this is the greatest player in the NBA. You talked about is Kareem.
Yes.
So
NBL,
who's your greatest?
NBL.
Yes.
NBL, hands down, it's Stephen Omwony.
Stephen Omwony.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've not what he has in. He might not be the fanciest, but he is the most efficient player I have watched in this league. And to dominate, I want you. We watch the NBA, and LeBron has been playing for what, 16 or something years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. 17.
17. I want you to. Steven has been on top of basketball from 90, let's say 98 or 97.
So 23 years.
23 years. And the man is still
good.
A point of reference. So for me, that's crazy.
So who is your strongest opponent on the basketball court? Both offensively and defensively.
Defensively, the hardest guy I've had to mark or the hardest guy I've had to play against?
Yeah, the hardest guy you've had to mark and the hardest guy you've had to go through on offense.
Okay, okay, I get it. The hardest player I've had to mark. Oh, I've marked quite some interesting players, but I think I'll go with. I think I'll go with either Steven or Ben.
Okay.
Yes.
Then the other?
The hardest player was defended me.
Yes.
Ronnie Caseo.
Ronnie Caseo.
Yeah, I don't know if he was Ronnie. He's also an honorary mention in my top 5 NBL.
Okay.
Ronnie was, I am left-handed naturally, but the only thing I used to shoot is my right hand. Few people know that who have played with me. Now, Ronnie was left-handed. He had a wingspan of about a 6'7", 6'6" player. He was tall and with a good build. So he always caused a mismatch problem for me. Because as a guard, I started as a big man, but Falcons changed me to a guard. I had an advantage. I was always taller than most of the people who guarded me. So I always would find a way. But with Ronnie was my size, and beyond his size, his reach was crazy. He had a very, very big, long wingspan, wide wingspan rather. So it was difficult. Actually, Warriors, for me, I hated playing against the Warriors. Because of Ronnie, and he was such a defensive player. It was always, I think, all the games I've played against Warriors have always been such tough games for me. So for me, I think Ronnie is the hardest guy who I've had to take on.
Okay, so do you have a role model?
Wow, that's an interesting question. A role model, in terms of, I have quite a number. I have many. Basketball-wise, I'd say locally, I think I look up to Steve.
Okay.
Basketball-wise.
Then as a man?
As a man, as a role model, I think I'll go with Jay-Z.
Jay-Z?
Yes.
Why Jay-Z?
I know. For me, why I think he's a symbol of hope. I mean, the ability to come from a street corner selling drugs to a boardroom making multi-million decisions. I mean, look at what are the odds?
Yeah, true.
Come from a corner where you're a drug dealer to a boardroom making decisions worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I think that plus he has a beautiful wife.
Okay, the times we are living in. We're living in the times of the coronavirus all over the world.
Yeah.
But it's a shock some Ugandans don't believe it's corona.
It's a shock.
Yeah, so being a role model, I want you to look at the camera and advise people how to keep safe.
First of all, I'd like to say corona is real. It's not a joke. We shouldn't get it politicized. It is actually real. But thankfully, we know how we can avoid it. Follow the SOPs. Wash your hands, social distance, sanitize, wear your face masks. And thankfully, this corona thing will be gone.
Okay, so to the kids, to the fans, the players who want to, of course, begin playing basketball in the future, I want you to talk to them and inspire them.
Well, like I tell most of the players I coach, you have to appreciate and live in the moment. Because if God has given you a gift, it's upon you to maximize and utilize that gift. So whenever you step onto that basketball court, leave everything there. There's nothing as bad as looking back and saying, what could I have done better? Maybe if I had pushed better. Maybe if I had done an extra session. Maybe if I had worked on this. Always understand that whenever you step onto that court, it's a blessing. And embrace the blessing, live in the moment, and take it on.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Benny.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been Mr. Douglas Uwizera, aka Young Doug.
Not young anymore.
Thank you for being with us here.
Thank you for hosting.
Hopefully next time I invite you on another call.
I will. I will. I will.
Okay, that has been Around the Game Sunday edition. I guess I'll see you again on Wednesday, 4 p.m. Have a good night and enjoy your weekend.